Hi and welcome back to my channel. I have already gotten several questions on what make and model Tilda is, so today I'm going to tell you all about that and also what criteria I had for choosing a long-term sailing boat on a budget. I'm Jeanette and this is Tilda. Buying a budget boat with a dream of long-term sailing, I got myself a lot of work. But one step at a time, the journey has begun, in no rush to sail as far as possible and instead taking the time to enjoy and sharing the experience with others. I hope you will enjoy too. Many people dream of sailing long distances and long term, and one of those things you have to do is of course choose a boat. And there is lots of different opinions, lots of different preferences, and not to mention seriously different budgets. But I'm gonna tell you about what criteria I had choosing a boat for long-term sailing at a fairly low budget. And it's of course important to remember this is my opinions and my preferences. It's no truth or no real guide for how you should choose, but maybe it gives some idea, and maybe you have more questions than what I'm telling about in this film or episode, and then you just write in the comments below and I will answer them. But I hope you enjoy. To begin with, what is a low budget? That will of course differ due to different preferences, and you hear about people almost given a boat for free, but that will be a cost getting it into shape and to a safety level, and it's for sure not free to renovate the boat. And I didn't want a complete project. I had a budget of 25,000 US dollars or euros. I'm going to talk about these currencies as the same. The euros is a little bit more expensive, but fair enough in total. And of course, that limits what you can wish for. If you have 50,000 or 100,000, you can increase your demands a lot. Anyway, it was needed to be considered that it would cost to equip and maybe improve the boat. I would most likely not, where I live here in Sweden, find the right boat with the right equipment, so the actual price tag had to be quite a bit lower. This meant in my case it would be a boat from the 80s, and since Sweden has a long tradition of building good quality seaworthy boats, I was mainly looking for a Swedish make. So I had scanned the market for a fairly long time, and I was looking at no less than 15 boats when I actually decided this is the time to buy a boat. To begin with, I had the size limit. It could not be any less than 30 feet. And that is because size makes speed. It's no absolute truth, but in average, I would say that. And I also like the idea of all those rallies going around the world when you gather lots of boats to go long distance together with the social hang-arounds and stuff like that. And very often they have a size limit that is 30 feet. They don't accept boats smaller. And it's also a little bit of the safety and the comfort level and everything like that. So a boat of no less than 30 feet. And I wanted a boat with a masthead rig. I wanted a deck step mast in front of a keel step mast, preferably. I also wanted a boat with a fen keel, preferred a lead keel, and I didn't want a complete loose hanging rudder, so some sort of shaded rudder. And I had some thoughts of whether to have an S-drive or not, but in the end I figured out that was not so important. Well, I forgot to mention, one of the reasons I want a masthead rig is that, of course, it's easier to handle. You don't have to trim as much as a fractional rig, and I like simplicity. Also, a boat from this age is likely to have a fairly big genoa and a smaller mainsail. A smaller mainsail it's easy to reef, and a fairly big genoa you can furl in at any time. So yeah, that was one of the absolute demands, to have a furler. Some people think that you should not use furling as a reef method, but I don't mind that, and I have made reinforcement on my sail, so it should work better. You get a little bit of less good shape, and so, but I don't think it's a problem. So that was one thing. And the sails had to be in fairly good shape because sails are expensive. Well, I was also saying that I wanted a fin keel, and talking about the keel, of course, you have to talk about the draft. Because, like, if you buy a boat in the Caribbean, they are likely to be like 1.5 meters and stuff like that. But here, it's quite common that boats are 1.8 or 2.0. And I had an idea that it would be really nice to, at one point, go through the European inland waterways. And there it's an absolute limit of 1.8, and you want a little bit of margin, because otherwise, if there is like a low water, you will have big troubles. So a draft that was no more than 1.7, 1.8 was also something I really considered. I also really wanted a steering wheel in front of a tiller. That is, I think if I found the really right boat, maybe I could have gone with a tiller. But I think no, it's just an absolute demand. Yeah, I would say that. And then when it comes to interior, I found that many boats from this age maybe were a bit worn, I guess I would say. So I think it's important, if you want to stay in a boat long term, that it has a certain coziness, or like a feeling that you would like to be in this boat. And the first time I looked at the bottle boat of this make, I really liked the boat inside. I didn't like that particular boat for some reasons, but it made me look at more of those, even though I saw some disadvantages. So, but interior. I like to have people around, so it was an, I guess, absolute need to have at least 2 separate cabins, and also the possibility to sleep 6 persons. So I wanted to be able to be like 2 couples or 4 persons that have like a little bit of separate areas. And then another thing that I have found out that I feel is really important, that is to have a kitchen that is close to the stairs. Like I wanted to an L or an U-shaped kitchen, because when the waves are rolling and it's rough sea, you don't want a longside kitchen that you have to like walk with all the stuff to the cockpit, and you also want to be able to stand a little bit secured. So that was a really important thing. And one other deal breaker, I would say, is the toilet. Because many boats in this size and price range, they have like a toilet that is in between the V-berth and the salon. So you have to pass through the toilet area in order to get to one of the cabins. And it's also not always like lockable or closable. So that was one of the deal breakers, to have a real toilet where you can close the door and have a little bit of privacy. What more? I think there's something more. Well, yes. Storages, of course. I really want good storages. That's something I had to compromise a little bit about, but I think it's okay. And also when talking about toilet, that would have been really nice to have a shower, but I thought that was not likely to happen. And in this boat, I don't think it wouldn't be a good idea to install an indoor shower, but you can have an outdoor one. So that's something I'm going to look into more later on. Well, I also wanted an engine in good shape. If you have seen my previous episodes, you may wonder why I bought this boat then. But I prefer the newer engine. This engine is not so new in this boat, but it was running well, and I had a surveyor looking at it, because I don't know that much about engines, and he gave it good to go. Maybe the surveyor wasn't that good, but yeah, well, it caused me a lot of frustrations. It didn't cost me so much money, but I don't know if you could like predict everything. Like, it's a boat, it's gonna break. Something is gonna break on the boat. But yeah, it could preferably have been a better engine. But the good side about this is now I really know how the engine works. I could fix a lot of things on myself now, but if it just had been running perfectly from the start, maybe I wouldn't have learned so much. So everything comes with something good. Yet another thing was like, it was on the wish list, not so much a demand, but that would have been to have a bow anchor and a windlass even. But lots of boats in Sweden don't have bow anchors. It's not like if you are in the Mediterranean or anywhere else in the world, it's quite common that you go to an anchorage and you have the anchor in the bow, and even quite small boat has windlasses. But here you have like the anchor in the stern, and you drop the anchor and you drive up to a rock and you tie up. So it's quite different how you use your boats here. So it wouldn't be likely to found one, but it would have been good because windlasses are expensive too. But I think this size of a boat you can handle without it. So I'm just going to install a bow anchor. And when it comes to equipment, otherwise, just something you look at, like what kind of instruments, does it come with a heater? It's not deal breaker for buying a boat, I think. It's just a matter of price then. So now I have been talking a lot about what preferences I had, but I haven't told you what boat this is. So Tilda is a Comfort 32 that's built in Sweden in Arvika, and she meets a lot of those demands and wishes. It's of course both good and bad. So now I had a boat for a little while, and you figure out more things once you are out. And is she a perfect boat? No. But is she a boat that will work for long-term sailing? I would say definitely yes. I don't know if you know that already, but there is a really good webpage that's called Sailboat Data. I put the link in the description below, and you can look for your own boat, or if you have any wish for a certain boat. Anyway, here you can find information like sail area versus displacement to tell you whether the boat is underpowered or overpowered, which implies this kind of boat is a fairly high performing boat. You find the comfort ratio, which measures like movement comfort, and also implies what the boat is made to do. There is something called like Capsized screening formula, which implies if the boat is suitable or made for, what did you say? Like it, I guess it like determines whether the boat has blue water capabilities. I think that's the easiest way to explain it. There is like explanations on all those terms in that website. So I think that was a messy explanation, but you get it. So you can like have a little bit of check on the kind of boat that you like or the kind of boat that you have, and get an idea. Would it be suitable for what I want to do? So is she the best ocean crossing boat you can find? No. But will she work? Yes. That's like the main idea, I think. So this was my ideas about boat choice. And if you agree or disagree or have any further questions, please write in the comments below. And I also had a bit of wishes for a boat tour on Tilda. So in the next episode, I'm going to guide you around so you can see how she complies to those wishes and demands that I had, and also what kind of pros and cons there is, and what you could fix. And yeah, I hope you will like it. So, and if you like this episode, please subscribe to the channel and give it a big thumbs up. And I hope I see you next time.